Hello everyone. So I just wanted to make a quick video on how to do the climate tables for your very first project. If you were around in labs when we did it together, awesome. But this is for some of us who may have not been around, or if things did not get fully kind of transcribed over, or if you accidentally made a mistake or whatever. So I just wanted to provide this little tutorial to help anyone who may have been absent at the time. So the first things that we need to make sure that we have would be our completed spreadsheet for our location for the particular data set time that I'm asking for. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make the software do the work for us, basically, which is really quite awesome. We're going to make Sheets do math so that we don't have to. It's really quite nice. It's a little bit cumbersome initially, but once we can kind of do autofill and things of that nature, then it will all kind of work out quite nicely. So something that I've done, here's my spreadsheet, and I'm doing Tucson, Arizona for this particular example. So I have all of my information, in this case from August all the way until February. And I already have my graphs made. So something I just want to point out really quick while I have this here. Look how beautiful this graph is. Look at how awesome this title is. And my axis titles tell me my unit as well as the variable and unit, right? So this does not have precipitation on it. We don't want to add a third axis. We can't actually in Google Sheets. And then, of course, this could use a better title and things of that nature. But this is just an example, right? So then off to the side of the main information that we have indicated here, I have set up a little table, or two tables really. So I have my actual and I have my climate. And I personally just like to have the color coding just so I can remind myself where things are and what is what. Basically, you don't have to color code them, but for me aesthetically, it just works really nicely. So I have in my actual table, I have temperature, dew point, relative humidity, and precipitation, which is how everything is lined up over here, and that's for a purpose. And then I have all the months that we've recorded August up until February. That's my first table. And then my second table is my climate information. Set up somewhat similar, but minor differences. We have temperature and precipitation, because if we think back to Lab 3 when we did the climatology for a city, I asked you to get temperature and precipitation information. So you should already, if you are doing the same city that you did that week, you should already have this information. We're just going to copy and paste things over. And then we have two other columns here, differences in precipitation and temperature, and difference in precipitation. And this will all kind of make sense here in just a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to make the software calculate some averages for us. So we're going to go into the August temperature cell and type in equals average, open parentheses, and we go to the temperature column and just scroll down to August 31st. And you can do close parentheses and do return. But do not do autofill. I cannot stress this enough. Do not do the autofill because it's not going to select the correct month. So let me just show you exactly what I mean. So pay attention up here where it says the function. So equals average B2 to B32. So that's for the month of August. Then if I go to December, that's B3 to B33. If we look here, B3 to B33, whoop, went a little bit far, that is not the month of September, right? So we just have to go in, and we're just going to delete what it autofilled. And this is where it gets a little bit cumbersome, but you're just going to get some good practice of typing the word average. And then I go down to where it says, so my September regions, do not do the autofill. Go to October equals average, open parentheses, go down to October, and select your October temperatures, close parentheses, return. Same thing, equals average for November. Scroll down to November. I promise this will all be worth it in the end. So equals average. So be sure that when you are typing this in to your open cell, that average is the very first thing, or excuse me, that the equal sign is the very first thing that you type. That's where you are telling your software how that you are going to require it to do some sort of mathematical function. Oops, something went wrong here. Something went amiss. Something went amiss. Equals average. Oh, I didn't do the parentheses part. It likes the parentheses action there. And if you notice what happened there when I made a little boo-boo, made a wee bit of a mistake, right? And things kind of went a little awry. What I did is to fix that is the Command Z function. That's the undo function. It is literally your bestest friend in the entire world. I use it often. Okay, so now this makes more sense, right? So before, when it autofilled and it said 84 degrees is the average for each month, if we think critically about that, right? If we think about, okay, my location is Tucson and November, I don't think that it's going to be 84 degrees. That seems a little bit crazy. Then you'd be like, okay, let's make some changes. Let's see where we went wrong, right? So this is where critical thinking will be very, very much in play here. So now this is where we can use not really the autofill function, but the click and drag function. Google Docs has kind of updated their software a little bit, or their thing. So remember how this used to be a blue square? Now it's a blue dot. So the bottom right corner, blue dot, my cursor turns into a plus sign, and just drag over all the way over for each month. So what this is doing is calculating the average for the cells that we already selected, but in the subsequent columns. That's why it's really important for us to set up the columns in this table, just like we set up the columns for our actual information. Now we do have to make one slight adjustment here to the precipitation column. So instead of the average precipitation for this information, we actually want to delete the average and we want the sum. So all you have to do is go to the average, just delete the word average, type in the word sum, and hit return or enter twice. So hit return or enter twice. Just delete average and tell it the sum. Oops. I added a, oh my gosh, what in tarnation is going on here? I'm getting real crazy. Okay, there we go. Adding some things that it didn't like, and it will tell you if there's anything in there that it does not enjoy. So sum. All right, so now our actual table is purely set up. That took me like 5 minutes, if not less, which is beautiful, right? Woohoo, there we are. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna set up our climate table. And I have my, my spreadsheet from earlier in the semester, from week 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over to my August situation, go from August to December. I'm going to Command C to copy. I'm going to come over here and Command V to paste. And then I'm just going to Command X and Command V, Command X, Command V. I'm cutting and I'm pasting. I'm cutting and I'm pasting. It's a little bit easier, I think, than doing grabby hands. As great as grabby hands are, it can kind of be a pain in the butt depending on if you have like a mouse. If you have a mouse, it's easier, but if you have a trackpad, it can be kind of a pain in the butt. So I'm going to do that same exact thing for my precipitation values. I'm just copying them over here. Command X, Command V. And so while you're setting this up, if you happened to have done a different location for week 3, this is a really simple fix. You're just going to go to Weatherbase and just redo this whole climatology situation. It's going to be kind of a pain in the butt, but not the worst thing in the entire world. So again, the climate, this would be Weatherbase. Actual is Weather Underground. Okay, so now we're going to calculate the differences between temperature and precipitation. So here in this empty cell, we're going to type equals, and I'm just going to click on the actual temperature for August, minus sign, climate temperature for August. So what happened what actually happened minus what we would expect to happen and click return. And this is where autofill is fine because it just goes down the column, which is great. So we're going to do the same thing for precipitation, equal sign, the precipitation, the actual precipitation minus the climate precipitation, return, and good. And voila, that's the whole table that I want you to produce and include in your full write-up. Something that you could do if you wanted to, if you're a visual person like me, and I at the moment don't require this, but maybe in future iterations of this class I will. So I'm selecting my my dates, and I'm going to hold the command key, and I'm going to select my two columns of the difference in precipitation and difference in temperature. I'm going to go to insert and chart, and then I just make a little chart for myself. This is a really nice way to show, and you don't have to include this necessarily, but this is a really nice way to show which months were above normal or below normal in whichever variable you're considering. So for example, the difference in temperature, I can see that for Tucson for this year, the month of September was much warmer than normal, almost by 3 degrees on average, but it was also a little bit drier than normal. November was cooler. November and February were almost 2 degrees cooler than normal and also a bit below average on precipitation. Again, this part isn't necessarily required, but it may be kind of nice to visualize for yourself rather than just looking at numbers, because I find that sometimes just looking at numbers can be kind of like meh. But some of us, which I did notice while I was going through and kind of peeking at our tables, some of us do have some really robust, warmer than average locations, which is really, really fascinating. So if you have any questions on any of that, please let me know. Since this is a video, you are able to kind of like slow it down, pause it, watch it again, that kind of thing. But please reach out if you need any further assistance. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.